Hello all and welcome to day 5 of this course, and it has been 4 days and we have been learning a lot of things here, and we have talked about a lot of things, and I hope yesterday's session was pretty useful and you could now see that we are increasing our pace of learning, and that we are actually diving deep into the intricacies of how Unity works, right? What are the building blocks of Unity and how this software actually works, how it sees, how it will does the computation, how can we use different items in this software to get the desired results. So today's day 5 and I am pretty excited about it, and let's start off without any due, right? So let me share my screen and then I'll share what we will be discussing today. So before diving into today's session, let's do a brief recap about what we did yesterday, what we learned about yesterday. Okay, so we learned about the primitive objects, right? These all are primitive objects. Okay, we also learned about components. So as we click on any of the game object, we'll be shown all the components that are onto it, and with the help of components we can change its properties, and desired properties. So every component adds some property or some behavior to the game object. Okay, that's what we talked about. What else did we talk about? We talked about the material, right? We talked about the material and different properties, right? We didn't talk about all of them. We talked about some of the properties, right? And now we have a fair bit of idea about mesh, about material, about components, about game objects, about primitive game objects. Yes, that's it. Okay, so jumping on to today's session, today we will be having a look onto getting the UI. Now, what do I mean by UI? As of now, we have just seen game objects, which is a sphere, cube, plane. But how would we show some information to the user? How we will get information from the user? Oh, and the best way to show information is via text. So that is what we will be taking a look into today, and that is the user interface. Adding user interface, adding buttons, adding images. Again, looking into the components of these stuff, and then changing a few properties, and let's see how it rolls. So let's save the scene, Control S or Command S, and let's change the scene and get, or make a new scene. So let's right click on the project window. Okay, we are creating a new scene. Okay, so let's right click in the project window and then go to create option, and here you will see a ton of options. Again, no worries, we don't have to focus any one of them. We just have to focus on the one that we need, that is the scene. Okay, click on this and boom, there should be a new scene that should be prepared for you. Why wasn't it prepared? Let's do it again. Click on scene and boom. Yeah, okay, it has been created. So let's give it a name. So let's give it UI scene. Okay, let's give it a name, UI scene. Okay, so now we have created the scene, but as you can see, we are still in the sample scene. Okay, let's double click on it, and now we are into the new scene, and we can see that from here itself UI scene, and also we just have the main camera and the lighting here. Okay, so let's get started and let's try to add a few UI elements. Okay, so I'll be positioning my video here, if that's okay with you all. Yeah, okay, so let's create some UI. So how do we create some anything that we want to add into scene? We can simply right click in the hierarchy window and go to 3D objects. No, 3D objects were used for creating primitive objects, right? So today we will be creating UI. So here is the UI option, and here are the elements that we'll be looking into, and then we'll be seeing how these elements play a role. So let's add, what shall we add? Let's add text. So it says text and then text mesh pro. Okay, and for some things it says text mesh pro, and for others it doesn't. What exactly is this? Okay, let's click one of them and see. So let's click on text mesh pro. As soon as you click on it, you will be shown a window like this. This is a TMP importer. So what exactly is it? So it is an asset, okay, that is text mesh pro. So basically this asset gives us more options for customizing our text and images and buttons. That is why now Unity has also adopted to it, and it automatically gives us the option to import it. So click on this one, import TMP essentials. So this will be importing all the basic stuff that is required, but then we'll be importing the TMP examples and extras as well. Okay, so that we can have a look at those things, and we have multiple more options for customization. Okay, yeah, so all done, all set. So here you will see we just added a text, right? But we have three things here that are new. One is the canvas, one is the event system. Okay, okay, so we'll take a look at these, but first let's focus on the text. So how can we focus on it? Let's simply double click on it. Okay, so here we have the new text. It says, and it says here new text. So let's type in something. Yeah. Okay, so at least we know that in this, whatever we type, that will be reflected here. Okay, so now let's look onto the properties of this. First and the foremost we'll look at is transform. Okay, for 3D objects, we saw that something, the component name was transform. Here is it a rect transform? So what is the difference? Okay, let's create a cube as well, just to understand the difference. Okay, if this is the cube, you will see this so small and this so big. That's not the case. Okay, I'll be telling you about that as well. So let's change the position of the cube, and there the cube it is. Okay, so here you see it's transform, its positions, rotation, and scale. But for UI, we don't have a transform component. We have a rect transform component, which gives us a few additional properties that are required for the UI. Okay, and as we can see, this doesn't say a position. It says position x, y, z, then width, then height, and then multiple few options, and then rotation, and then scale, right? So let's see. First of all, this has been created into an arbitrary position. It's randomly created anywhere. We want to reset this component. What's the way of resetting a component? How can we reset a component? We discussed about this in our last video. And to reset any component, we simply click on the game object, go to the component that we want to reset, and then go to the option button here and simply click on reset. As soon as I reset, everything will be reset to its default, and you can see this button has disappeared. This text has disappeared. Where exactly is it? We don't know. What we can do is we can either right click and then see here and there, and try to move with WASD. Okay, there it is. But if that's not the case, what we can do is simply double click on it and it will focus. Okay. So another good tip that I would like to give you beforehand is if you're working with the text, right? If you're working with the UI, it's always better to work in 2D mode. Okay, let's click on this 2D stuff, and now we are in 2D mode. Okay, let's zoom out, and what we can see here is this is our text, and this is a white square outline. Not square, this is a rectangle. Yeah. So what is it? Okay. So before going into the properties of this text, let me tell you about this white rectangular outlines. Okay. So this is a canvas. So whenever you want to use any UI in your game, in your application, which is being built by Unity, as soon as you add any UI element, a parent element would be created, that is a canvas. Okay, so for any UI to work, maybe it's a button, maybe it is a image, maybe it is a slider or anything, there are multiple types of UIs. For any one of them to work, it should be a child of canvas. So here are two things that we'll be learning now. There are two new concepts. One is canvas and one is child, and one is parenting. What do I mean by that? I'll tell you about that as well. So first, let's look into canvas. So the canvas is really important, and you can see here these values are grayed out. Grayed out means you cannot change them. Okay, and it says some values are driven by canvas. So these values will be driven by the canvas component. Okay, and here is the canvas component. So let's look into a few properties. First and the foremost is the render mode. So there are three types of modes. One is the screen space overlay, screen space camera, and world space. We mostly work into screen space overlay, and what it means is that the no matter this whole canvas will take all the screen area. Okay, no matter what the size is. Okay, this will automatically take the complete screen area. So if we go to the game view, we'll see a cube here, and then we'll see Jatin Pawar written, because the cube is centered, it's 000, and the camera is looking at it. Okay, but our UI is taking, the canvas is taking all of the screen, and then this is placed in the center. Okay, in the scene view, if you see, if we remove the 2D stuff and we see main camera. So the main camera is looking at the cube. Okay, but again then we have this canvas. This looks so big, but this is actually will be set exactly as big as screen is, and then accordingly this will be shown, this whatever is inside this canvas. Okay, another is screen space for the camera. So this will be this UI. If we select this option, this UI will move with the camera. Wherever the camera sees, the UI will move. Okay, it won't be stick to the screen. Another option is world space. So world space will make this UI just as a 3D object. This means then this canvas will be a part of the 3D coordinate system, and it will be, we can only see this UI when we are in, when our camera is in front of it. Okay, as of now it is screen space, right? So no matter where the camera is, this whole UI will be painted on all of our screen, right? So most of the time, or like 99% of the times, we use this option itself. Okay, then this is pixel perfect option, which makes things as pixel, it like it puts them to the very pixel of it, right? As that is that, hence the name pixel perfect. This is sort order, you don't need to worry about it. Target display, again, don't worry about this. These things also don't worry about. Next component that we see on canvas is canvas scaler. What is canvas scaler? Okay, so canvas scaler is a component which helps us to scale the canvas, scale the UI, you know whenever the screen size changes. Okay, if our screen size changes, then we want to change the scale of the canvas as well, right? So there are multiple ways in which we can change. What we can say is, no matter what the screen size is, our UI should look the same, same length or same height or same size, right? Or we can choose for an option. For example, if the screen size of the app decreases, then the UI should adjust itself. Okay, let's me give you an example. So this is as of now, this is constant pixel size. So whatever it is, it will stay like this. Now this says scale with screen size. Okay, so here, if we change the screen size, this should scale. Okay, this is the game view, and if we change it, you see, as our screen size decreases, the text size also decreases, right? Okay, what if we keep it constant with pixel size, and now let's try to change the screen size. The screen size is changing, but the text size or the UI elements remain the same. Okay, because it's constant. Okay, again, third option is constant with physical size. So whatever size we have given, again it will remain this size itself, it won't change with the screen size. So most of the times we use scale with screen size. So because we want the UI to use to scale, right? We don't want the font to be 72, font size to be 72 or 82. Then our screen size is pretty small, right? We want it to be 24 maybe. We want it to dynamically adjust, right? So that is why we use most of the time this one. The reference resolution. So this is the resolution that we need to give, according to which this should rescale. This mostly we give 1920 by 1080. Okay, because this is the most of the things, most of the phones, smartphones have this size, this aspect ratio. And then we have an option here which says match the matching mode, basically. So it says match the width or height, expand and shrink. Okay, so if we increase it, it will expand, and if we decrease it, it will shrink. This is not what we are what we are concerned about. This is the option that we're concerned about. So basically this will try to match the height or the width. Okay, and if we scale it, again the text is scaling. Okay, and if we scale it to the height, so if we change the width, if we change the width and height, so it will actually scale according to the height stuff. So here we are changing the height, but nothing is changing, right? Okay, now it is changing. So what if we change the width? It won't change stuff unless and until the height changes. Okay, so here we want to keep it into the center 50-50. Okay, 0.5. It's in percentage, that is why. Okay, so this will take care, this will match the height and try to match the width as well as the size of the screen increases. This will change the size of the text account. Okay, this is another component which we shouldn't be worried about as of now. This is graphic raycaster, and we will be talking about raycasting soon. That's the time when you want to look into it. Okay, so that was about canvas. Okay, so there were two new things, right? One was the canvas, and another thing was parenting. What do I mean by parenting? So what happens is, what in Unity, what we can do is we can make a game object child of another game object or parent of another game object. What do I mean when I say child or parent? Okay, let me showcase it to you. So let me showcase it to you via 3D objects, and then maybe you'll be able to understand it via 2D objects. Let me create a sphere. Okay, this is again created as 0, 0, 0. Let me decrease the size of it. Okay, by 50% in all directions. And now you see these two objects are independent. They have their own position, their own rotation and stuff. Okay. For example, this cube is at 0, 0, 0 with everything default for the transform component. And this sphere has reduced by 50% in size in all axes. And its rotation is 0, 0, 0 and its position is y-axis. It has been raised to 1.1 units. Okay. Now now see, now these two are different group objects. Now let me again listen carefully to me. Now let me make the sphere a child of the cube. Okay, let me make sphere the child of the cube. Okay, so I'll left click on the sphere and drag it and take my cursor onto cube. Okay, and I'll leave the cursor. So you'll see a different arrangement here. Okay, so now cube is the parent of sphere. Sphere is a child of cube, and it comes below cube. So if I, you know, close this, so you will just see the cube as sphere is the child of cube. Now, what have we achieved by making, because nothing has changed here. The position is same for the sphere. The cube also looks same. Like nothing has changed. Why are we making this child parent thingy? What is the use case of it? Okay, so let's see. So here, as we can see, sphere is the child, right? Now let's see. So now here, what we'll do is we'll just change the position of the cube. Okay. So now you see, right? Now because sphere is a child of cube, if we do anything, like if we change size, if we rotate it, anything we do to the cube, it will directly impact the sphere. Okay. For example, if I change the size, in all directions, it is changing the size of the cube as well, right? Because relatively this is keeping the size same for the cube. Okay, now if you go to the sphere, again the scale, it says 0.5, right? Because its scale in respect, like it's maintaining its scale, right? Rotation, it says 0, 0, 0, and position also it says 1.1. Why? Because now this is calculating its stuff in respect to this cube, and we haven't changed its position, right? So it is there itself, 1.1. Okay, but in the world coordinate system, its position has changed. Okay, so with the child and parenting stuff, there are two more terms that you need to understand: world and local. Okay, so world position and local position. Okay, so local position is respect to your parent. So this sphere with respect to this cube, that position is known as local position. And global position is known like with respect to the actual origin of our whole of our scene. Okay, so let me put this cube 0, 0, 0, and now although the sphere shows that its position is 1.1, but that's a local position. Okay, that's not the global position. Okay, so now let me, and now what if you want to see its global position? Let me de-child this, like let me remove it. Let me not make it the child of cube. So now I have removed this sphere and now it is no more a child. So again, it's maintaining its position, but now you would see the position is 7. This is the world position. Okay, and its scale is also changed. This is 333, right? But as soon as I put it inside the cube, like make it the child, again it is maintaining its scale and position with respect to this cube. So if we, the scale of the cube is 6, right? If we do it 1 1 1, again the scale of the sphere and everything will change, but it will not show it here because this information is with in respect to the parent. Okay, again, if it is confusing, let's do it once more. So we are talking here about the concept of child and parent. Okay, what here we have done is we have made this sphere a child of cube. What impact does it have is, if we do anything with the parent, that directly impacts the cube, that directly impacts the child. Okay, but that's not the case vice versa. For example, if we do anything with the child, that doesn't impact the parent. Okay, also the child maintains its rotation, position and scale respective to its parent. For example, now it is placed here, right? Now if we move the cube again, it moves with the cube. If we scale the cube, again the distance between them, remains same, and the size increases for both of them, right? What about rotation? Let's rotate. Again, now I'm rotating just the cube, but you can see the sphere is also changing its position because it is the child of the cube. Okay, so this is a very basic concept of parenting of child and parent. Okay, now let's disable this. Let's, so that we don't see this, let's disable this. It is here, but we won't be able to see this, and this is grayed out as well. This same concept applies with the UI as well. Okay, so as of now, we have a text component that we have added, and it is a child of the canvas. Okay, and we can change to 2D mode so as to work in the work properly in the text stuff. Okay, so here we have selected this rect tool. When we were talking about the scene view and the tools, I told you that we'll be looking into this rect tool once we talk about the UI stuff. So here is the time. Okay, you can see here this is a rect tool, and with the help of this you can change the size. Okay, you can also rotate it. If you go near this, the cursor changes and you can rotate it. If you go near to the corner, okay, see the cursor changes and you can rotate. Okay, also apart from the corners, we are also seeing a dot in the center, right? We will see, we'll look about that as well, what exactly is that. So now let's take a deep dive into the component of this text. Now let's look into the rect transform for this text UI element. The rect transform element is pretty important and you should focus on it because a few of the concepts will be new here, and this rect component will be present in all the UI elements. Just like the transform component was present in all 3D objects, this rect transform component will be present in all the UI elements. We need to understand this so as to get a good understanding of how the positioning of things of UI elements work, at least, right? So here we have this text with some, this text with some input known as Jatin Pawar, that's my name. And now we'll be talking about all the options that are here. So currently this says position X, position Y, position Z, width and the height. Okay. Then it says there is something known as anchors and then pivot, then rotation and scale. The most important thing to understand here are two things, that is anchor and pivot. Okay. With respect to these, then we can understand about the position and everything. First, let's talk about the pivot. So pivot is the pivoting point of any text or of any text element of any UI element. That definition was pretty self-explanatory. So let's see in action what I mean by that. Okay. So let's click on this pivot. So this circle here, the blue circle shows the pivot of this text element. So what happens if I want to move it, okay, if I want to move it, I move it left, I move it right, okay, and it's moving from this pivot. Okay, I want to move it up, I want to move it down. Okay, let's reset this And what happens if I need to rotate it? If I need to rotate it from z axis, this will rotate via this point. Okay, so basically it will rotate via its pivot. Now let me change its pivot to something like here. What happens now? Okay, what happens now? What happens if I rotate from z axis? So now, as you can see, again, this will rotate from the pivot itself. Okay, and here you can see the value of pivot has changed. It says 0.92 and 0.92 something something. Why does that say so? Because this is showing us the normalized values. Okay, so here if you want to set the pivot anywhere, we can go like from 0 0 to 1 1 0. If this means 0 and 0, this will come to the bottom left. Okay, this is the bottom left of this UI element, and if you want to go to the top, we can come 1 1. Okay, also a thing to notice is we can actually take this pivot outside of the UI element, and then again if we rotate, this will again rotate from the pivot itself. Okay, so this is used for some special behaviors, but most of the time the pivot remains inside this, and most of the times we put it on 0 0.5 0.5, and this will make this centered in the element, so all the rotation and everything will be done from the center. Okay, this was scaling. I was telling about rotation, right? So that was about the pivot, the point from where the rotation takes place. What is the pivot of this UI element. Now let's come to anchors. Anchors can be a bit challenging to understand, but bear with me and we shall go through it. Okay, so let's see what are anchors. So the circle was the pivot, but here if you see, there are four small triangles. Okay, there are four small triangles, and these triangles are anchors. Okay, and each of these anchors, okay, let me turn on the gizmo. Each of these triangles correspond to the each corner of this UI element. Okay, so what is an anchor? So anchor plays a pretty vital role, as it has two things to do. It maintains a fixed relation with the UI element itself. When I say it maintains a fixed relationship, we'll get into it. What do I mean by that? And it maintains a flexible relationship with the parent element. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Okay, so as of now, when all the triangles, see, first of all, these are four triangles, and they correspond to each of this, each of the corners. Okay, so when all four triangles are centered at a point, okay, this point is the anchor of this UI element, and here we'll see options like to move it, position X, position Y, and then its width and height to control the width and height. Okay, but as soon as I move it, okay, now things change here. You will see left, top, right, bottom. Okay, so this is the fixed position of each corner. Okay, each anchor from its corner, and that is why we will get a position from top, left, right, and bottom. So here it will maintain its position from the left, that is minus 16. It will maintain its position from top, that is minus 38. It will maintain its position from right and bottom. Okay, and when will this maintain this? If I resize the parent, if I resize the parent, that is the canvas, you will see, yeah. So this canvas actually cannot be resized, but to see a preview, we can resize it. Okay, so this is trying to maintain its position with respect to this element. Also, I told you that these anchors have a flexible relation with the parent, so these will change according to the parent as well. The anchors will change, and accordingly the size will also change for the child element, for the text UI. Okay, so let me again go through it. So as of now things change, right? So what if we take it to the corner? Let's see. Okay, now what happens? So now things are stretching as well as they are contracting as well. Okay, but what if we take these things and I just combine them. Now what you will see is things will stretch for sure, but they won't, in the height, they will not, they will not change its position because the anchors have been locked. Okay. So anchors have their own fixed relationship with the itself and an inflexible and a flexible relationship with the parent. Okay. So So basically, with the help of anchors, anchors will directly impact how the text or this UI element will change its scaling. Will it stretch or will it not stretch? Will it remain the same size, or will it, be at the same distance wherever it is, even if the appearance changes? This all will be taken care by the anchor. It will all be dependent on the anchor. Okay. What if what if we set anchor something like this? What happens now? So now if we change the stuff, it is allowed to stretch. Okay, because the anchors are pretty much outside. Okay, but what happens if I you know match the anchors? Now it will not stretch, at least it won't, on the x-axis. On the y-axis it will. Okay. So that is a little bit about anchors, and I know it can be a bit confusing, but the thing that you need to remember is that they have a fixed relationship with the UI element itself, and they have a flexible relationship. Basically, the the position of the element will depend on how we have set the anchors. Okay, so we can set the anchors in multiple ways. Okay, and this is a window which gives us a few presets for setting the anchor. Okay, so as of now, if we want to just set the anchor, we can click on any of these and this will set the anchor. See, the anchor has shifted this side, the anchor has shifted here, the anchor is shifted here. What difference does it make? If I shift the anchor here, this will always maintain this distance from the UI element. Okay, this point will be considered as the anchor, and this will always maintain the distance. Okay, whenever we resize the screen, right? Again, if I put the anchor on this axis, this side, it will maintain a distance from this side. Okay. Yeah. Now we can also set the position. Okay. If you want to set the anchor here as well as the position here, we can press Alt or Option and then click. So here it will set its position as well as anchor. So again, now if we resize, this will always remain on this axis, right? Because its anchor is set there and its position, which is related to the anchor, right, is also set there. So what if we want to be able to stretch these as well? If if the parent is stretched or maybe resized, what we can do is, what we can say here is that, okay, let's set the position in the center. Let's set the anchor also in the center, and let's stretch the anchor. Okay, now the anchor is stretched. So if we change the position, this will stretch. Okay, but if we change the height, it won't stretch. Okay, this is how, with the help of anchors, how you can control the behavior of your UI resizing depending on its parent. Okay, so anchors are basically used for making sure that your UI changes, as you want whenever the parent is changed for that UI element. Okay, so most of the time what we do is we simply put it in the center and it remains here, and it won't change any size or anything if we change it. Okay, it will keep the, as the anchor is just in the between, right? So it will keep its position wherever it is, and it will just move along it, it won't stretch. Okay, so this is how we can set the positions. So now we're done with anchors, we are done with pivots as well. Now let's see the rotation. Okay, so rotation is simple enough. Rotate, it will be rotated along with the pivot point. Okay, most of the time for this rotation stuff, we'll only rotate it in z-axis because this is 2D elements, right? Now comes a pretty interesting thing, that is scaling. Okay, that is scaling. So what do I mean by scaling? So for UI element, there are two things. One is scaling and one is resizing. There's a difference between both. Let's see what that difference is. So if I change the width, this I am resizing. Okay. This is, you would see, this is not changing the font size, right? This is maintaining the font size. This is just changing the width of the element. This is resizing. But what happens if I change scale? Again, the width is changing, right? Okay, width remains the same, but we are scaling it. Okay, and this will impact everything. If it is image, it will be scaled. If it's a text, again you can see this is scaled. So most of the times we do not use scaling for UI elements. We keep the scale at 111, and most of the times we change this width. Okay, which we can do this by rect tool as well. Okay, we change the width and the position and everything changes accordingly. We can change the width to the height, and the position changes accordingly. Okay, so that is the difference between scaling as well as resizing. So make sure that you don't scale your UI elements, you resize your UI elements. Okay, so that was all about rect transform. I know it is a bit confusing for you as of now as well, but when we'll be taking a look on different UI elements, then I'll again be revisiting this topic, and then you will be understanding a bit better. But as of now, we have understood this position, this width, height, what is an anchor, what is a pivot, what is rotation, and scaling. Okay. Then we have something known as canvas renderer. We can leave that. Then we have an element known as text mesh pro text. So this is a text element, and here we can change the properties for our text. So we can change its color. Okay. We can change its size. Okay. Maybe that was not a visible change. That is a visible change. We can make it bold, italic, underline, strike it through, lowercase, uppercase. Okay. So these are the properties. Also, we can choose different, font if that's what we want. Actually, we can choose the font here. This is a material preset that, you want outline, you want a drop shadow, you want a soft mask, or you want a, different metallic green, and then we have options accordingly. But we can choose the simple one. And then this is auto size. How this helps? This helps when we resize the parent element again. This, if our anchors say that if we resize the parent, then our UI should be resized, then this will change the text accordingly. So basically, this will change the text accordingly if we change the size of the UI element. Okay. See. So that was auto sizing. Then we have different options. We don't need to care about them, but we can look at alignment where we can center vertically as well as horizontally. So this can be pretty useful. Okay. Then we have multiple again for the material. We don't need to worry about this as well for now. So that was our first UI element that we took a look at. Okay. And where majorly we had a look at the rect transform. Now let's try to add some more UI elements. Again, I'll add an image. Okay, here we have an image, and we can resize it. We let's 1920 So this basically covers our complete screen, right? If that's what you want. If not, you can decrease the size, decrease the height, right? Now we have the text as well here, but this is behind it. What we can do is we can resize it a bit and then place it at the top so that we can see it. For the image, again, we have the rect transform, which will take care of the positioning and the width and the height. Then we have the scale, rotation, and then we have simple one component added here, that is image. So we can add a source image here. Okay, so let me take a screenshot right now. Okay, and then let's bring this into a Unity. So this is an asset that we've added. and now put it here on the sprite. So we are not able to do that currently. Why is that so? Click on this asset and we need to convert this into 2D, and then we want to say that this is a 2D UI sprite. Apply this, and then this shall be converted into a sprite. Now again go to image. Now we should be able to put it here. And here we have, that is an image or unity that we have just clicked and put it there. Then we have material and a few more properties that you don't need to have a look maybe, right? So let's not look into these. These are simple stuff which we will be taking care later when required. So in image, you just need to know about the source image. Okay. Then we have raw image. Okay. This is similar to image, but this is set to take less. This is set to be less computationally intensive, and you can say memory intensive. So let it make 500 by 500, and you would need a texture for this. Again, you can try to put this, and yeah, this works pretty well. So most of the times, what you should do is you should use a raw image. It's basically less computationally expensive and is easier for the software to take care of it and uses less computational power, right? Otherwise, it's just the same as image. Other than that, what do we have is a panel. Okay, so what is a panel? So you just see this is a grayed out stuff. So panel basically is, it's used to get a background. Okay, so it's a blurred, it's a transparent stuff, and you can change it, and it can create a nice good background. Okay, as of now you can see the panel is on top of everything. What if you want to bring you know text on top? So here in hierarchy, if you see, whatever is in the bottom is actually on the top. This we bring this text below this panel, then this is you know forward in the panel again. Similarly, we should bring these images as well. So now they are in the front, right? So these are images. Now let's see other stuff. In panel also, yeah. In panel, you just have a panel is basically an image which has been transparent, whose opacity has been reduced, and this is generally used to get a good background. Okay, yeah, let's position it here. So let's see what else do we have here. We have toggle, we have slider. Let's bring them all in and then let's see them one by one. We have scroll bar, we have a scroll view, we have button, have drop down, we have input field. Okay, so yeah, there are so many of them. Don't you worry, not all of them are useful for us currently, but yeah, we shall look at them one by one. Okay, so I'm just separating all of these. So that we can have a look at them one by one. Okay, so we were here at toggle. So this is a toggle button basically, and if you go into the game mode, if you click on play, you can toggle it. And here is a function. Here is a action that will be called once you toggle it. You can add anything here. Like I want to toggle it. Whenever it's toggled, I want to change some value or something like that. That will be most probably taking a look in the scripting lessons that we'll be having. This is interactable. That means you will click on it, you can hover on it, and so these are colors. So this is a normal color, like this will be a normal state. This is a highlighted color. Highlighted means when our mouse is on it. So as of now, it won't show. In the game, it will show. And this is a pressed color. So pressed color would be, let's put the yellow. This is selected color. Let it keep it selected, and this is deselected. Okay, now let's see this in action in the play mode, right? So here, if you zoom in, okay, now if I hover over it, highlighted color is shown, that is the green color. If I click it, yellow color is shown, that's the pressed color. Okay, this is selected, that is by orange. When it's deselected, it's not selected, then disable. Okay, so we need to disable it, then it will be breaken. Okay, so that's a toggle button. That's basically a button that can be used. This is a simple slider which we can slide. This is a slider which we can slide to change the value. So we can set our values with the minimum value and the top value here. Okay, and then as we slide it, this will give us output in the values, and then we can do any action based upon them. We can put it left to right, or top to bottom, bottom to up. We can change the type of the slider. This is a scroll bar, and this majorly is used for scrolling stuff if we have multiple objects. This is a scroll view that we can add multiple things inside it, and then we will be able to scroll it. Okay, so if we change scroll view size, okay, then we can scroll it accordingly. I'm not taking a deep look into these because we don't require them, most of them, okay, but I'm just giving you an idea. This is a button. This will be pretty handy in most of the applications, and it has an image that is the background, which maybe you can change the color. Then it has a button component again, which is has all the normal highlighted, pressed, selected buttons. But the major thing here is this on click. Okay, so here we can add functionality. Here, this will be taking a deep look into the scripting sessions, but here I would like to just give you an idea. For example, if I add, I can add anything here, and I can add, for example, this text here, and I can say to disable it. As soon as this means as soon as I click this button, this text should be disabled. So let's click on play button and let's see if it happens. So now we can see Jatin Pawar. As soon as we click on it, Jatin Pawar is gone and this has been disabled. Okay, so this is the button, and we can add, you can choose to do whatever you want to by adding something here on the on click function. Okay, after that we have the drop down. This simply is a drop down. You can add multiple options here, and then when you choose one on value change, you can again do some maybe perform an action or something like that. This is an input field. This is used to enter, to get the user enter something. Like if you want, maybe if you're making a sign up page, you want the user to enter the Gmail account or the email account and then the password, right? So this is the thing that you will be using. And it says here enter text. So that's a placeholder, and you can actually change the placeholder name as well. So here you see placeholder. You can say enter email ID. Okay, and this has been changed. Maybe the enter spelling is wrong. Let's change that. And if you go into the play mode, this here we can enter anything we want to, and this will hide. Right, as soon as we try to enter something, the placeholder hides, and if there's nothing, then the placeholder is seen. This again changes value. This is a scroll bar as we saw, and this is a button. This is a scroll view. This is an image, and this is a bar. This is a pretty basic, introduction about all the UI things. We are not going deep into it because we will be going into deep in one of these or some of these when we require these, right? But not as of now. Another thing that you must see is everything is a part of this canvas, right? But there is something known as this event system as well. What is this event system? So these are the components, event system and standalone input. Because of these only, we are able to interact with these buttons. What happens if I, disable this event system? I won't be able to interact with any of the UI. I won't be able to enter anything here. I won't be able to, get the drop down. I won't be able to change the slider. I won't be able to click on the button. Nothing will happen because this event system is disabled. Let's enable it. Voila. And now we should be able to do anything. We should be able to interact. Okay. So that is why this is pretty important. And this some of you guys make mistakes. Sometimes when you delete this accidentally while developing apps, and then you say, and then people say that things are not working. Why is this so? So whenever your UI is not working, you should always see if event system is enabled or not, right? So that was a brief, and let's remove all of these, if I must say, right? And then what I would suggest you is to create a sign up form. Doing that, you will get an idea about how things work. Okay, we can maybe create a sign up form where the user can come and sign up, and you can you can give it a heading that could be maybe at the top of it, and then you could say sign up form. Okay, you could change its mm, change the size. Okay, change the alignment, and as well as change the font size. Again, recenter it and bring it down, right? And then what you need is you need a button and two fields, right? So again, okay, let me add two text fields. Okay, those will be the text fields, and there we will be putting some input, but we need some input field as well, right? Where we want the people, where we want the user to be able to add their input. Okay, and for that what we'll require is a we'll require input field, right? And we'll require another one, control D, duplicate. Again I'll center both of them, and then move them, and then put them accordingly, right? And now here we can say email, here we can say email afterward, password maybe. Let's get some passwords, right? So we can again, if the password is small, we can increase, and then here also we can increase this. We can change the text size as well. Okay, it says 14, so let's do 24. Similarly for here as well, 24, right? And then maybe let's add a button, right? Yeah, so let's position this on the bottom. Let's press op shift and alt option. So this will create the anchor also at the bottom and will change the position as well. It says here shift to set the pivot and alt to set the position. Okay, and then bring it here. We increase its size. Again, inside button we have text. So let's change the text 32, and here maybe a green color. Yeah, this is not the world's best sign up form, but that's not what our aim is to build, right? We are trying to play around with the UI, and if you click on play button now, so you will be able to see this here, and you can actually enter stuff. No, you cannot. Why is that so? What could be a possible reason? Oh yeah, our event system is not working. Now can we? Yes, we can. Click on it properly, then we can. Otherwise, we cannot. Right? Okay. And now password maybe. Okay. So here, our password shouldn't be visible, right? Or wrong. So here, what we can say is here also we can change the type of it. And we can make it a password type query where it won't show up whatever we are entering. So okay, this is your challenge. Look into it, and how can we make an input field not to show the characters, right? Have a look at it, do some research, and you would be able to find the answer. So that's all from my side today, and let's do a quick recap about what we have done. So today we have taken a deep look into the UI, right? How can we show information? What are the basic UI elements? What is parenting? Parenting is one of the great concepts that we've learned. We will be diving more into it as we dive into the scripting sessions. Also, we have taken a look at rect transform. We have understood. I strongly suggest you guys to learn more about anchors and pivots. Okay, a good video to learn about them would be you can check out Unity's video about anchors and pivots. where you will get an overall idea about what an anchor is and what a pivot is. Okay, so let me show you that as well. Maybe okay, on YouTube, maybe you can go to rect transform unity. Okay, and here it says 7 years ago. There's a Unity official video. The rect transform. Here you would be able to learn about the rect transform as well as maybe you would get a great understanding about anchors and pivots. Okay, so this is one video that you should look into and increase your understanding. You should play around with these things in Unity and create your own sign up as well as login forms so that you get a good idea of overall understanding of how things work. That's all from my side. Signing out for today, Jatin. Bye bye.